Hi, I'm Kristen Davin from Loyola University Chicago.
I'm Rick Donato from the University of Pittsburgh, and the purpose of this podcast is to discuss some of the classroom applications of the research that we conducted. So Kristen, you've been an elementary school Spanish teacher for many years. Could you say a few words about how you implemented whole group dynamic assessment with your class?
Sure. Well, anytime you're going to implement something new in the classroom, you really have to think about your context. So what you have to do first is think about your lesson objectives. Think about what type of errors students might work or what might make while working toward meeting those objectives, and what some assisting prompts are that you can use to mediate any student errors that happen as they try to meet those objectives. So for example, in our study, students were learning how to ask WH questions. So we thought students might make errors with choosing the right question word. They might make errors with word order. They might make errors with, word omission. So we developed a list of prescriptive prompts to target those types of errors. In another case, if you were doing something outside the realm of grammar, with, for example, reading interpretation, reading comprehension, the prompts might say something like, underline the cognates that you see, or look at the title and the pictures and draw inferences about what the text might be about. Once you determine what prompts you're going to use, you have to order them from implicit to explicit. So this will allow the teacher to really tailor the mediation to the student's needs. Maybe one student only needs a very implicit prompt, whereas other students might need, a forced choice option or something more explicit. So once you've determined your prompts, you've ordered them from implicit to explicit, then you have to think about how you as a teacher are going to track their performance, because dynamic assessment is not just about promoting development, but also about tracking the progress of learners. So in our study, the teacher had a clipboard where she tracked how many prompts each student needed. But another way to do it is students might track their own progress as a kind of self-assessment. So there are several different ways you can do this. As we describe in the article, though, small group work was one interaction that we paired with dynamic assessment to further promote students' development and further help the teacher with tracking progress. What suggestions do you have for setting up small group work?
Yeah, well, as you said, we suggested small group work to sort of make up for some of the deficiencies that can occur with whole group dynamic assessment. So some students might be engaged, other students might be disengaged. And we thought that the small group work would allow a teacher an opportunity to monitor those groups more, allow students an opportunity to work more intensely with each other on whatever the lesson objective. So what sort of advice would I give about setting up small group work? Well, I think I'll give two sets of advice. First, I'd like to give some advice from the architects of cooperative learning and collaborative learning, Johnson & Johnson. So this goes way back, and many people may know this. Collaborative tasks need to promote positive interdependence on part of the students. So they need to be developed so that students actually have to depend on each other and help each other. There needs to be group and individual accountability, that one person can't be given the accountability for completing the task. Everybody is responsible for task completion. Cooperative, collaborative tasks need to also promote interaction. So cooperative tasks are not sitting doing a section of a worksheet and then putting the worksheet together, individual work in the presence of others, but they are actually tasks that everybody works on and focuses on together. Now, in terms of foreign language learning, I think there are a few other considerations. First, I think that the tasks have to be constructed in meaningful, purposeful context. Tasks have to have goals. They have to have purposes. Students need to know why. So, for example, there's a big difference between filling out a worksheet with prepositions versus having students develop a podcast, a PowerPoint presentation, or a publication for the class. Secondly, I think students need to be given general guidelines or blueprints for how to carry out a task. So if there are specific steps to be taken, students need to know what those steps are, and they also need tools for carrying out the task in the form of language resources. And finally, I think students need to have group processing skills. So teachers need to teach students how to cooperate with each other, how to ask for collaboration, how to provide information, how to ask for elaboration. And students can actually be assessed on that in tasks. They don't only have to be assessed on how well they do the task, how accurately they do the task, but how well they're cooperating, collaborating with each other. So I think with your information on whole group dynamic assessment, a little bit of my information on group work. I think they make a very nice complementary pairing for the reasons that you can read about in this article. Thank you.
Thank you.